Well, good evening, everyone. What a great group. This is so exciting. Today is the anniversary of the very first day we talked about the community garden with Envision Berwick. And that's really exciting to me. But it has been my greatest pleasure, I have to say. This has been a really thrilling project to work on. So I'm going to run through a lot of things. I'll try not to go too fast, but just know that this is also being videotaped, so you can watch it again and pick up the things that you might have missed. And I've given you some handouts that really go over a lot of the information that I'm bringing forward tonight. This also will be your chance tonight to start the process if you're interested in either having a garden bed or being a volunteer in the garden. So that information is also in your packet. So our tagline for the garden is "Let's grow together." I think that's how we create community. We each bring something, some seed, some desire, some talent that we have to the project that enriches it. So let's grow together. This is a vision that we have come up with, creating a welcoming and inclusive outdoor community space where the focus is on people, sustainable organic gardening, and education about local healthy food choices. I think that's a wonderful goal, and I think it's totally attainable. This may be in your packet, I can't remember, but our mission, we have 4 different parts to our mission: to encourage and support residents of Berwick and the surrounding community. So we don't see our community as just ending at the town line, right? Community is all the people who live around us, right? Not just people in Berwick. So the people in the surrounding communities to grow their own food and share with others, not just growing your own. To create a space where all community members can connect with one another in a hands-on, peaceful, regenerative, inclusive, and respectful environment around the activity of growing their food. To educate community members about organic gardening, the nutritional value of fresh produce, and strengthen the bonds among community members through inclusive community activities, and to donate local produce, fresh local produce, to the community, serving people in need. So right after that meeting a year ago, we created a survey that we put out to the community, and I see a number of people that I know filled out that survey, and that was so helpful to us to get feedback from the community about, well, what would be important in a community garden? What sort of plots would you like to have? What are important features and that sort of thing. So we compiled all that information. And the top 3 things that came off of that survey that we really paid attention to were people wanted community involvement and helping people in need. That was the number 1 thing. And local access to fresh fruits and vegetables. We all know that we don't have a grocery store right here in Berwick, so we have to go elsewhere to get fresh fruits and vegetables. And then socializing and being in nature. So in June, I took this before the select board, and they gave us a unanimous approval for the space behind the police station and the fire department, if you know where that is off of Logan, between those two, where the old Estabrook School used to be. It's a beautiful open field there. And that is the place where we will be building the garden. And then on January 4th, we submitted a 71-page plan to the planning department, and we received a conditional use permit for the garden. And I have to thank this gentleman right here who created that planning document. He spent hours on that property inspecting it and surveying it and really getting to know it, and did a beautiful job writing that proposal. In the fall, we received $25,000 from the state of Maine to help fund the infrastructure for the garden as part of their community resilience partnership. So that was quite a wonderful thing to have happen, to have the state say, we think what you're doing is really good and we want to help support it. So we're grateful for that money. We have continued since then to do some fundraising and writing grant proposals. I just finished one this afternoon that I sent off for another big chunk of money. So we will see how that goes. So this, if you're not familiar with that space, so the police department's right here, police station's right here, and the fire station's here, and that big driveway comes in off of Logan Street, so Roma Joe's is right here. So it's this piece of property right here where the garden will be. That's one of the earlier drawings that we had. May not be exactly that same dimension now, but it's close. In July, we started having every 2-week meetings with public to come and share whatever their ideas and desires were for the garden. And we got a lot of great information. The first meeting was especially fantastic. We did a little popcorn session where everybody said what they loved about gardens and then what they would like to see in a community garden, which really gave us the foundation for how we were going to move forward and plan what the garden was going to look like and what our programs were going to be. And this is what came out of those meetings. And I have to say that every one of these things that's on this list we have incorporated into the garden in one way or another. So raised beds at easy height. So all of the beds are going to be about this tall. So no getting down on the ground, no having to squat, no having to really mulched. So it won't be as accessible. But right along here and here are specially designed beds so that wheelchairs can roll up underneath them. And people who use walkers can stand there, or people who want to sit and garden, sit in a chair and sit underneath it. Okay, so there's 12 beds there, so there's plenty of room for people who have any sort of mobility issue. Let's see. I'm going to go through these. I've got call outs of the areas, but so the entrance to the garden will be alongside the driveway, alongside the fire department. There's a sidewalk that comes off the parking area for School Street Apartments is out here. And so you'll come in this walkway and we'll have to be we're going to build a bridge across the swale that's there. This whole area is a drainage ditch that was done when the fire department was built. So we will be building a bridge across it and come up into the garden this way here. And there'll be a wheelchair accessible porta potty here. But it's going to be beautiful, I think. I am excited about it. It has so many different elements. It feels like there's something for everybody. And hopefully it will be that way. And if there isn't, maybe we'll figure out a way. So this shows you some of the detail. I'll just kind of run through this real quickly. So this area down here will be what's called a food forest. I don't know if any of you have come to our classes that Dennis and I have given here, but we did a class on food forest gardening, which is a particular type of gardening that mimics the forest. So you have trees and shrubs and perennials and ground covers and things all growing together. It's a really wonderful and interesting way of gardening. So we'll have a whole area here. It's a pretty good sized area. These are all fruit trees, blueberry trees, blueberry shrubs there, and elderberries here. We're going to include a sensory garden, which was something that came out of that original meeting that we have. If you don't know what a sensory garden is, it's a specially designed garden with all sorts of different elements that feed the senses. So they can be something visual, it can be something tactile, it can be something that smells good, it can be different types of things you walk on, it could be sounds. And so there'll be this really beautiful area right here. They'll be pretty serene, I think, because we'll have a little water feature here in the center where people can come and walk around or sit. We'll have some handicap accessible benches in there. We have had a greenhouse donated, so that will sit right here. This will be a tool shed. They'll all have ramps on them, so they'll all be accessible for wheelchairs. This will be a pavilion for doing meetings and classes or picnics. I'm hoping that we'll have some picnics. This area right here, this is a very exciting project for me. I wanted to get as much fresh produce into this community as we can. And I mean really into it. So I went and talked to the people at Table of Plenty and House of Hope. And I said, if we were to dedicate garden beds just for your program, would that interest you? And of course they said yes. So they each gave me a list of the vegetables that they use in the meals. And between those two programs, you may not know this, between those two programs, they feed over 18,000 meals a year, which I think is really phenomenal. Not just to Berwick, to the surrounding area, but still fresh meals. And that, they're either on site or they're they have a drive up, they have a pickup, or they deliver. So I wanted to be able to support them with produce. So these beds right here, a square area here will be for that. So there'll be a work table here for doing transplanting and harvest work. Right here at the edge, so there will be an entrance to the garden here, and there'll be a small parking area up here that'll just be mostly for deliveries and drop-offs and things. But right here, we've been donated this beautiful big food cart, like an old-fashioned cart like the men in the cities push cart. So it's going to sit right here, so that it has easy access from Logan Street. And we will fill that cart from these 2 beds, and those vegetables will be free for anyone. No questions asked. And we will stock that cart, and it'll be open during hours that the garden will be open. And then we have this bed and these 2 beds. And this is not finalized yet, but this is our goal. Our goal is to collaborate with Berwick for a Lifetime and to create senior fresh food choice boxes. So it will be like a CSA box, if you know what a CSA box is, a weekly box, smaller box, because not everybody will need a lot, and you're getting one a week for our aging population, and that'll also be free. So I'm excited about that. We are waiting to hear about a grant to support that program. Here we have a pergola covered in lovely smelling flowers and things for people to sit. Again, this is all wheelchair accessible, so that will also be wheelchair accessible. All of these beds here, all of these are for the public. Now here's the wonderful thing. Someone in town has offered to pay what people would pay in rent for those so that everyone can garden for free. There will be no charge for any of the beds, which is really a wonderful gift to the community, I think. So these beds will be available. This is the children's garden. So there's a 15 by 15 concrete pad there for the kids to do chalk and, do their playing there. And then, you guys listening here? Okay, right here are the children's beds. These are small. These are 3 by 5, and they're all along this play area. And then, I don't know if you know what those cattle panel trellises are, those big metal trellises. So there's a trellis here that goes from the kids' garden, and this I want to be the family garden, so that the parents can be here, parents and friends or whatever can be here working, and the kids can be right here either playing or working in their garden, and they have easy access and fun access through that tunnel. And I have found some really cool vegetables that like to be on trellises that you guys can plant on these. Okay, let's see. So the raised bed sizes, there's different sizes. This is a 4 by 4. So for somebody who just wants to do a little bit, doesn't want to do a great big garden, but just wants to get out and do some gardening, we have 4 by 4s. Then we have 4 by 8s and 4 by 12s. And not all of them, but some of them have trellises in between. And then the wheelchair accessible ones are here, and these are 2 by 6. And I designed these so that the 2 beds sit across from each other, so that people can be social while they're gardening, which I think is a really big part of gardening, a fun part of gardening. So there's 60 beds in total there. So then I decided, well, let's give people a little idea of what they could grow. So these are the 4 by 4 beds. And by using square foot gardening, if you know what that is, it's a particular type of gardening where you do everything in square feet. And there are formulas for what you can plant in those square feet to maximize the space. So I did 4 different types of garden just to show you what you could do in that 4 by 4 space. So there's a salad garden here, salsa garden, Mediterranean garden, and a stir-fry garden. And so that's what you could plant in a 4 by 4. Here's what you can plant in a 4 by 8. This gives you a little more space. And I forgot to tell you something even more exciting. I completely forgot. Even more than that. Someone in town has come forward. She has a greenhouse. She is growing all of the plants for us. You don't have to buy any plants. And Home Depot has donated $800 worth of seeds. So these are the ideas with using the plants that she's starting. She and I have been meeting for the last 6 weeks or so, once a week, and figuring out what all the different varieties are that will work in this square foot gardening and which ones work well in this temperature, this climate. And I think we've done a really good job. She's lived here a long time. I'm a newcomer, but she's lived here a long time. So here's a perfect example. These are squash plants here. Well, you know how zucchini can get huge, right? But we found some container-sized zucchini that still grow beautiful zucchinis, but they're smaller plants. So this shows you what you can grow in a 4x8. And we've gone through and calculated how many plants will need to be planted in this whole garden. And trust me, it's like in the 4 digits. And this is what you can plant in a 4x12. They're beautiful, aren't they? That's what your bookmark is. Once I got finished designing these, I met with Sharon and she said, oh, those would make the best bookmarks. So we made the bookmarks. So this just gives you an idea of some of the things that you can plant in that size. And of course, if you're really smart about it, like if you're growing, let's see, peas. There's peas here, right here. These are peas. So if you plant peas, then you can come back in and plant beans. So do succession planting so you get more out of that space throughout the summer. This is some ideas for the wheelchair accessible beds. So these are the programs that so far we have come up with, and I've mentioned some of them. So the Sharing the Harvest is that program that's working with our 2 food programs, with Table of Plenty and House of Hope. And the community food share we talked about being the cart and also the food boxes. And the children's garden. Dennis and I met up at the property a couple of days ago with the director of the Master Gardener program here in York County. And they have a Kids Can Grow program that I'm really hoping we can bring to Berwick. So we have to apply for it. It was great that she came out and she walked the whole property with us, and she was very excited about what we're doing and seeing all the programs. So fingers crossed that we'll get that program. I have had a dream for years. I am not an artist. Well, I am an artist, but I'm not a painting artist. My mother was. And I've always wanted to be a painting artist, but I've never developed that skill. I can paint with the computer, but not so much. And I can paint with plants. And that's what I tell people I do. I paint with plants. But I want to bring art into the garden. So I got a bunch of easels last year, and I would love to have artists just come to the garden and spend some hours in the garden, set up an easel, and just paint. I think that is a fun thing to do, and there's going to be so much beauty in the garden that it's a wonderful way to capture it. And then composting. I didn't mention that. Let's go back. Right here. This is all a composting area. So one of our dreams is to create a pilot program for community composting. Berwick does not have community composting. I think every community should have community composting on some level. So last year, Dennis and I started our own little mini pilot program by getting a 5-gallon bucket of coffee grounds from Aroma Joe's every day. Dennis became known as the guy who walks around town carrying the white buckets. If you've ever seen him, that's him. And then a friend of ours is a woodworker, and so he would bring us those big contractor bags full of sawdust. And Dennis worked that with grass clippings and has made some of the most beautiful compost. So I think if we can continue with that, and then all of the people who are gardeners who don't have composting at home can bring their food scraps, and we'll add that and continue to make our own compost, which then we can use in all of our beds. So we're basically creating soil. And soil, of course, is the foundation of, if you don't have good soil, you don't have good gardens. Oops. So community composting. And I would like to see that be something that maybe our veterans could work on. I think that could be an area where our veterans could really excel. It would give them a project to do, and who knows where it could go. You know, if it's just a pilot program, that's where you just try it out and see what happens for the first year, and then you decide if you're going to build it bigger or if you're just going to stay with the status quo or just forget it. But I think we'll at least be doing the status quo, which is what we'll need for the garden. So from the very beginning, we've wanted the garden to grow from the inside out. Not a top-down organization. Those don't work. We can see what's happened to our world with top-down organizations. They don't work. They don't work well. They don't serve the people. So our organization starts from the heart. So the heart of the organization is our advisory board and the garden steward, which is me. We are now forming a nonprofit. So we have some of our board members here. So Dennis is one, Daniel is one, Kate is one. Where's Sandy? Sandy. And then we have some advisory people. Christina, raise your hand. And Nicole, where are you, Nicole? There's Nicole. And then one other person who couldn't be here tonight. So these are the people at the heart of the organization. They are responsible for holding the vision, making sure that the vision follows the comprehensive plan and the rec plan from the town, which are the guiding documents for the town. So everything that they oversee will come from the heart. That's the heart of the organization. And then, even though I'm the main person who has worked on this, this is not my garden. It needs to be beyond me. I could be the vision holder, I could be the visionary, but it's not my garden. It's the community garden. That's why we called it that. So in order to have a good, healthy community garden, you have to have a leadership team. It can't be one person. It has to be a group of dedicated people who are willing to hold the vision and to bring the vision into a reality. So we have these folks in this next outer ring that are the leadership team. And we are now looking for people to be on this leadership team. There's different skills, each one has a little aspect of the vision and the organization that they will be responsible for. So a volunteer coordinator, really important position because all of the gardeners are going to be volunteering. And then we're going to have lots of people in the community who want to come in and do things. Say they want to come in and help with the harvest. They want to come in and help do the planting. Somebody wants to come in and do weeding. God bless you. Although hopefully we won't have too many weeds. But this person is an important person. Needs to be somebody who loves working with people, who's good with people skills, who's good at keeping good records. A people person, for sure. Community outreach coordinator. This is somebody I desperately need right now. I am doing all of the community outreach myself, doing all of the newsletters, designing everything, the things you see in front of you. I had to learn Canva. You know, I said, oh, I can't learn this. And then I was like, I have to learn this. So I did. But doing all the social media, the newsletter, holding the mailing list. So that's what that kind of person would do. Somebody who really loves technical stuff. I love it, but I can't do that and do everything else. So we will have somebody in charge of the food share and the sharing the harvest. So they will just be, they're focused on those food programs. And program education coordinator. That's pretty self-explanatory, actually. And then I have 5 here, but that's a mistake. This should be 7. I want a garden coordinator, which I am hoping will be a master gardener on site, 1 person every day of the week. We have, I think, 3 or 4 already who have come to me, but I would like to have a master gardener be on site to be a garden coordinator every day of the week. So that's somebody who knows about gardening, who's comfortable with gardening, who knows how to problem solve, who can be a mentor, you know, that sort of thing. And then all of the gardeners who are gardening in those spaces, we're asking that you do 2 hours of volunteer work a month, since you're getting the garden for free. And so then we've created these crews, which are those volunteers. And you get to decide which crew you like to be on. So they support, for the most part, they support these coordinators. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know that's a lot of information. So here are the goals of that leadership team. Supporting the community by creating an inclusive and welcoming environment at the garden. We want this experience to be a refuge. We don't have a lot of refuges in the world right now. You know, life is so busy. We're going here, we're going there, we're bombarded with this and that and noise. And I think, for me, garden is a refuge. So that is what we're hoping to create, is a real refuge space. Not somber, but joyful. Encourage cooperation, shared responsibilities, and fostering mutually beneficial and respectful relationships between gardeners, neighbors, visitors, and the community at large. So starting in the community and having it spread out into the community. And the leadership team manages the day-to-day workings of the garden. So we've created the framework, the programs. We've found ways to fill the garden with beautiful things. So that's the garden part. But there's 2 parts to the community garden. The community is what we need. So that's you. I hope this speaks to you. You're here, I think it does, but we need the community now, because we now have all of the permits that we need. We are ready to go. We're ready to build. As soon as the weather will permit, we'll get equipment in there and start trenching and putting in fencing, and pretty quickly we'll be needing bodies and hands to do various tasks. So I made up a list, which there's also one in your packet, of a whole bunch of ways people can volunteer. And some of them are not, this left side is definitely gardening related. But this right side are jobs that you don't have to be a gardener to do. You just need to support the vision of the garden. So there's a lot of ways that people can support the garden. We've already had people come forward to donate wood. Somebody's donated, as I said, the greenhouse Somebody's donating gravel. Somebody's donating soil. So if everybody does one little thing that brings them joy, where they can share their generosity to help bring this into a reality. I really feel like this garden, I tell people, this is going to be an epic garden. And, you know, we're rebuilding the downtown. We're revitalizing this town. What a wonderful way to revitalize the town, by growing things. Let's grow together, right? It fits. But we can only do it if, I'm not going to go knocking on doors and say, would you? No. It needs to come bubbled up from you, how you can support the garden. Let's grow together. So that's what I have. I want to open the floor to questions, things we can clarify. Yes, ma'am.
Well, so the first thing that I'm thinking is it's already March 6th? I don't know March 6th exact date, but so what's the timeline for getting the equipment? Because already, and I don't like to assume, but the person with the greenhouse and her little things must be already like this.
She's starting in another week, the 15th.
Starting, so,
yeah.
Which is fine, actually, that's plenty of time, right? Yep. But, so you're quite confident that, you know, the equipment will be available, and, you know, because this is all sod right now, is it? So turning it and then building the planters and the whole, you know, the wheelchair accessible path. I mean, that's a lot,
It is a lot
to do, like, in a month and a half. But you're pretty confident that, and everybody's on board, like is the Department of, the town.
Public Works? Yeah.
Are they going to be involved?
I don't believe so, but we have not asked them. So we have a lot of contractors in town. So I'm feeling that they're probably, and Public Works is understaffed. Everybody knows that they are understaffed. So I don't really want to pull them away from what they do for the town. And we do have a lot of contractors in town. So, and we happen to have some people who know them all. So we're trying to pull all those things together. We're looking at having a grand opening either Memorial Weekend or the following weekend. So we still have time to plant. We'll have the beds ready and the plants all ready. I mean, all you have to do is show up. Bring your water bottle, your gardening hat, and your gloves. That's pretty much all you need to bring. Leave your phone at home.
Right.
I know it's a big project,
Yeah.
and I have to say that I wake up at night about it, but we'll do it.
So where the water's going to come? Like, are you going to have like two stations, like two silcocks, or like, how are you going to?
The water will be coming from the fire department, and there'll be a line that will come in underneath that bridge that comes across. And let me go back and show you this. So here's something I didn't mention to you. This will be a fence all the way around the garden for deer. There's a lot of deer out there.
So what type of, that's going to be one of my other questions, is what type of fencing, but I mean.
It's deer fencing.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've done a lot of research. The information about the fencing came from the Sanford Garden. So because they're out, you know, in a trust area where there's a lot, yes. And so we're using the same kind of fencing because it works. One of the things we found out, or I found out when in interviewing people, what's the biggest problem you have? Well, deer was one. The second one, voles. Voles. So I did some research and found out that if you dig a trench deep, somewhat deep and wide, fill it with gravel, they will not cross it.
It must be 18 inches.
No, not 18. They don't go down that deep. No. So the water will be coming from there and come across from here, and there will be water lines in these trenches. So there'll be spigots, at all these various areas. And we will be doing some water catchment as well. That's part of what was in that grant proposal I wrote today, was a water catchment system. And I am going to encourage people to use watering cans. It's a much more effective way to water right at the plant instead of waste a lot of water.
A million questions, but are you going to have a shed for tools and things like that? Is it
Right
gonna
here.
be communal.
Right here.
Okay. Nice.
And we're providing all the tools too. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Oh, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Misty. I couldn't see you.
I'm just blown away to see now what we've talked a lot and all this. You brought it up, so the question came to the mind. Right, watering cans, of course, we love that. Thinking of somebody that might not have the physicality to carry it, will there be any opportunities to attach a line to make it easier for them to water if they can't carry
Yes.
it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We'll have.
I assumed
we'll
so,
have
but I
hoses
figured
and
for
things.
benefit of
Yeah.
others, I would ask.
We really want to be sensitive to individual needs. And that's why I want to have a garden coordinator there who's paying attention to the individual needs overall, and then maybe needs that come up in the moment so they can be addressed.
I just
'Cause
figured
we
I would
really-
ask. So
we-
others, if they thought of it, I'd ask
Yeah.
Grandpa if he wanted to have a plot, but he can never carry a water
Yeah.
can, I figured you'd have
We'll also have some carts too, which will help. Something just flew into my mind and flew out of it that I wanted to share. Well, it'll come back. Oh, I know what it was. One thing I wanted to say was that last year, Sharon, the library director, was so gracious to let me get my feet wet on managing a garden by managing the garden out here. And we had a wonderful season. Misty was one of our volunteers. We had a wonderful season with lots of children. I loved having the children in the garden. It was wonderful. And we, in this small little garden that we have out here, we donated 250 pounds of produce to the community food pantry. So it's amazing what you can do when you plan the garden for succession and that sort of thing, and still have it be fun. It's not just going to be about, we have to grow more. It's about having fun. So no, I will not be doing this garden this year, but they're looking for a manager. So if that's something that speaks to you. Anything? Yes?
Are you considering any ornamental plants or any sort of legacy
I am
plantings?
so sorry I did not mention that. Thank you. So this area, obviously, will have a lot of beautiful ornamentals in it. These areas here where you see the flowers, these are all going to be big planters, pots, and things of pollinator plants, because we really want to bring the pollinators into the garden. And here's a secret that I learned becoming a master gardener. If you put the pollinator plants in the middle of the garden, it brings the pollinators in. If you have them along the edges, they just come for a sip and leave. They don't do their work, right? So all these pollinator plants. And then all of this area, which is not even, I didn't have time to draw in all those flowers, but this area, all along here, will have native plants, wildflower plants, yes.
Any perennials or?
Oh yeah, it'll be mostly perennials. The one annual I insist on is zinnias because it brings the monarchs in. Yeah. Great question, thank you.
So I'm assuming budlias and things like that?
Not budlias.
Okay.
Budlias are pretty invasive, but there are other things.
That family.
that are similar that will bring them in. Yeah.
Hummingbirds?
Oh yes, hummingbirds.
So I've heard that cutworms are a problem, you know, about those worms that are just so nasty, that are big as cigars. And
Oh, those are hornworms. Hornworms, yes.
are you going to be doing anything to combat that? Because that's bad.
Hand picking is a great way to get rid of them. That's what we did out here.
In terms of the compost, are they going to be cold piles?
No, they'll be hot piles. Hot piles. No, the hornworms. Remember we had the big hornworms?
I don't think that's what she's talking about. No, not the big
Oh,
ones that you go in.
oh, you're talking about jumping
The
worms?
jumping
And
worms.
find those, no, I know you put green.
Yeah.
The Asian jumping
ones
worms.
that get drunk.
Well, here's the thing. Jumping worms are here. They are here. We are not bringing in compost. We're making our own because we're trying to stave that off as long as possible.
So I'm just saying if there's any rules for people, like, you know what, so please keep your compost away from the garden.
Yeah, we're not bringing any compost in.
Right, I didn't know if there was going to be some signage.
Well, everyone will go through an orientation. Yeah, orientation is really important. And in that packet I gave you is a fairly long list of guidelines and agreements about. We will be doing an integrative pest management, which means you start with the least invasive way of getting rid of pests, like planting pollinator plants that bring in bugs that keep other bugs away, and having healthy soil, taking good care of not leaving produce laying around and diseased leaves and things like that. It will be an organic garden, so we will not be using any pesticides at all, ever. But we will be teaching classes, and all those classes obviously are for you and free. But yes, we want to take care of the soil. Yes?
I have a question. Do you have like a master schedule time frame so that we can sign up now for certain things? Like the building of your beds and trellises, that has to be done before anything else. But do you have it scheduled?
I don't have a schedule right at the moment, but that's why I gave you that list of things to check off and send to me. So if you look on that, I don't have it here, but yes, that. Check off what interests you, your name at the bottom and your contact information, and then I will compile all that and get to you. Okay? I mean, I have an overall timeline, yes, but I don't
One
have...
more question. Even if you haven't built them before, will there be someone there to say, okay, this is what you guys are going to do, or do you want only experience?
Oh, we will have somebody who will oversee all of that. That's a really good question. I don't have a specific answer for that yet. I need to talk to the person who's going to be, I hope to do that next week, sit down and have a meeting and talk specifically about the infrastructure building. So I can't really give you an answer to that right now. But yes, it would certainly help if somebody has experience, or at least some of the people. Yes.
I noticed that you sent around a thing with everybody to sign up or put our emails. So would you be sending out emails to all of us for when you're going to get starting or when certain meetings are going to be held?
Absolutely.
Through
Yep.
that?
Yeah, I have an email, a program already set up that automatically sends out to the whole list. And what I'll do is when Ralph gets finished editing this, I will send the link to this video to everybody, and I will be in fairly constant contact with you. And as soon as I have a list, a timeline list, I'll send that, but I don't have that quite yet.
Will there be specific hours that we can access the gardens?
Yes, sun up to sundown, April through October. Well, it won't be April this year, but in future years. But October, the end of October will be the end of the garden. Anybody from the advisory board or want to say anything? Shouldn't just be me.
I just
two have done an unbelievable job.
I tell everyone I was never blessed with children, so I feel like this is my legacy. Because I'll be 70 this year, so, you know, I'm starting to think about legacies. But, you know, you all are what's going to make it ground. Right now it's on this and in here and in here. Yes, Nicole?
Just to elaborate on what she said, not a question for you, but a statement for everybody. I would just like to acknowledge the fact that Amarita's amount of time and dedication to writing grants and making these, it's been more than a full-time job. And I would love to see the community give you the support for this, because I know you have a passion for it, and all of the resources are within the community, and I think we can pull it together if everyone loves the idea as much as you do and I do and people of the board do.
Combined great support.
I agree. I agree. And Dennis, yeah. I could not have done this without him. Well, feel free to even, you know, start filling out that application, because I don't know exactly how we're going to do this yet, whether it's going to be first come, first serve, or I don't know. I would like to allocate 75% of the beds to people who live in Berwick, and then the other 25 for our neighboring communities. I think that's pretty fair. But that means that's like what, 40% 40 beds, or how many people are in this room? So don't wait. If you're really wanting to do it, don't wait. Now the great thing about this whole area here for the food share, all of this is all going to be managed by volunteers. So if you're one of those people who doesn't really necessarily want to do a bed, but you'd love to do some gardening and you'd love to be having social interaction with other people, because these beds are, you know, somebody here, all these little things. These are not ants, those are people. So like, you know, you're standing across from each other and, you know, you're getting to know somebody in your neighborhood. You're getting to know somebody in your community. You're going to make friends. I mean, look how we've become friends this year, Misty, you know, from just working in the garden out here and our interactions. It's a great way to have connection. And I think since the pandemic, a lot of people are really wanting more connection. Pardon?
Where are you going to have parking?
Parking will be in your neighborhood. Yeah. It's not shown on here, but so this is the police station. Right. The management from your building has given us 6 spaces on the end here. I would like to keep those mostly for people who have mobility issues. And then we're going to be using the commuter lot at the corner of Wilson and Sullivan, because that's just right there. Any other questions? Oh,
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you all for coming and participating. If you want to get involved, please reach out. We have meetings. We just moved the dates to the second Monday of every month. We're open to ideas. We want this to be a community project, and Amrita and Dennis have done an amazing job of pulling things together, but we become better when we come together and mention our ideas and really work together. So when it comes to setting a timeline and things like that, the more people that we know can help. Or I'm new to the area. I'm from Ohio, been here a couple years, so I don't know any really people here. But if my neighbor's a contractor and can help with the beds or something like that, then I'll reach out. And the same with you. So if you know people, even if you're not able to do it, but if you know someone, even word of mouth is really helpful. Husbands? Yes, husbands, neighbors. children, yes, anyone, please give them our information, reach out, and we really want you to be a part of it.
Yes, thank you. There is a sign-up list going around, so I would really like it if everybody would sign that list so that we can get you on the mailing list. Oh, Roz has it back there. Maybe we'll just leave it right there on the table, and anybody that hasn't filled it out can do that as you leave tonight.
Is it the same mailing list that the emails came out for the meeting?
Yeah, but if you wouldn't mind doing it again, because I'm sort of keeping track of who comes to what meetings. I've created a little database, and because it helps me see what the interest really is. So, yeah. Yes, Sandy.
Like the community that's here tonight, they're gonna sign up tonight for their space that they need?
If they want to.
Because there's 60 spaces, and I'm really from Somersworth, but my grandkids live in Berwick, so I'm here for the future. And what I see is that people want to do this. And in Somersworth, there's a waiting list.
Yeah, they do. All of the ones around us have a waiting list.
You need to sign up and you want space. I think tonight's a great opportunity to do it before there isn't any more space.
I agree. Sanford, when Sanford built theirs just 5 years ago, I think. I forget how many beds they had, but in the first year they ended up with a waiting list, and they had to enlarge the garden. Can you imagine having to go back in and enlarge this? Some people said, oh, it's so big, but you know, you don't have to fill all the beds up the first year, but you certainly don't want to be having to take fencing down and redo to make more space. So it's going to be a beautiful space, whatever it is. And just so you know, these trees are not there right now, right? These are conceptual, but I want to have trees so that there's shade. This, you know, there'll be shade in this pavilion, which will be nice. It'll make it a little bit cooler, but yeah, there's no trees there right now, so it's a big open field. It gets a lot of, it's a perfect. The south is like here, so it's going to get, you know, all of this sun. It's perfect.
So
Yeah.
the next meeting, and just so I have it right, it's at
The
6,
11th,
6:30.
right?
Yes.
6:30 and the 11th.
In the Burgess room.
I guess that's
Down from my
what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I still need to work out a little detail there, but next Monday, yeah. Town hall. Town hall. Well, thank you so much for coming. And please feel free to reach out to other people you know who might be interested. And then when we get the video, you can share that video with them. And my information is on there, so email me or call me, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.